Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? How are you guys doing? Today we are building the coding slash computer science student PC, and I'm excited to share with you guys the process of building your own PC if you've never done it before, and explaining to you guys why I picked the parts I did. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so the tools you're going to need to start your PC build. I have my knife, just a karambit. You don't need one, you just need some, cut some plastic. And really all you need are two different size Phillips heads. I mainly use this bigger one for thumb screws and this one for the actual internal components. But other than that, you really don't need any other tools. So the case that I went with is the NZXT S340 case. Okay, if you can see that, NZXT. And the reason I went with this case in particular is this is a case that I already own. I've used this case for about 2 years, and I replaced my gaming PC case, changed out some of the hardware, and I didn't want this case to go to waste. So I was like, you know what, I wanted to build a new one for school. Let's repurpose this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and show you what's in it already, and then we're going to put in all the new parts. Okay guys, got the case open. Really only things we have in here is from my previous build are the NZXT air fans, the RGB strips, if I can get it to come down. Yep. You see that RGB strips, and then the hue controller for it. Other than that, we are starting fresh, all new parts. I just wanted to keep some of the RGB stuff from this case still in it. But let me go over the parts I have as we go along. Okay guys, so first things we're going to show you is the CPU, which is the Ryzen 5, I think it's the 36, or the 3600X. And the reason I chose this one is because Ryzen has a lot more cores and threads for it, for at least the Ryzen 5 compared to like the i5 or whatever the Intel variant is, which you're going to need a lot of power when you're going to be doing multitasking, keeping all your different tabs open for your web browser, especially Chrome. Chrome is a very CPU and RAM intensive browser, as well as keeping your different coding software open and any other things that you want to keep open while you're coding. So I went with the Ryzen 5, and then for the motherboard I went with the, I think this is the Asus ROG Strix B450 motherboard, mainly for the RGB and the fact that it was a pretty decent motherboard that was compatible with the Ryzen, that gave me enough of the USB ports that I was really looking for to attach all my peripherals, all my keyboards, mice, monitors, speakers, headsets, that kind of stuff. So I felt like this was a very good budget friendly motherboard, and I'm just gonna start taking this out the package. And here is a good look at the motherboard itself, and honestly it looks really nice. I like all the text that's on it, the Game On Strix ROG. I like the Asus logo a lot. So this is just a beautiful looking motherboard. You got your RAM slots, your PCIe spots, obviously your CPU socket. And then on the side, like I said, one of the biggest reasons I chose this was for all of the USB outputs. You've got 3 3.0 USB ports, 2.0, a Type-C. I'm actually not sure what the red one is. If my CPU had integrated graphics, DisplayPort, HDMI, and then Ethernet. But say my CPU does not have integrated graphics, which is fine because I have a graphics card for that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this in the case, and yeah. Okay guys, so we have the case down, and I'm not sure if you can see like these like little screws spots here, but these are your standoffs. So that's what your motherboard sits into. Now this is a ATX configuration, and that's what kind of motherboard I got. So all along the edge are these standoff screws where you're gonna screw down, and then this one is your set pin, just so that it's sitting in place. And those line up with all of these silver lined holes on the CPU. And then one thing that's really nice about this motherboard is the IO shield, which is like this, like a little decorative panel, is already put on, so I don't have to install it separately. But what we're going to do is set the motherboard down onto the standoff pins. Okay guys, and I'm not sure if you could hear that, but you'll know it's in place when your screw holes line up, your middle standoff pin lines up perfectly, and if you hear the IO shield click into the back. So now that's all clicked into place. Okay guys, so now that we got the motherboard in, all we got to do is now get the screws. Use your Phillips head. I prefer to use these smaller ones when it comes to internal parts, but we're just gonna screw down the motherboard in place. Okay guys, so we got our 8 motherboard screws screwed in, and I forgot to mention this, but your case will come with a box of screws and other pieces. But so I am just using some screws from my new case, but they still, it's another NZXT case, so still compatible with these. So we got 3 on the top, 2 in the middle, and 3 at the bottom. Now what I want to do is I want to get my CPU in. So let's open that up, and I'm going to show you how you put it in the CPU socket right there. Okay guys, when you open your CPU box, at least for AMD, you gotta get a certificate of authenticity. This big thing is your cooler, and right here on the side is the CPU itself. So move that to the side, and I'm gonna take the fan out. So this CPU in particular comes with a AMD Wraith Stealth cooler, and I don't know if you can see it, but to the trained eye, it already has some thermal paste on it. But we are not going to be using the stock air cooler. We actually have a liquid cooler that we're going to be using instead. So we're just going to set this to the side. I like to keep these just in case I need it in the future, whether my liquid cooler goes out or I want it for another build. But otherwise, this right here is the brain of your computer. This right here is probably one of the most expensive parts, and it's so tiny, so fragile. So let's open it up. So when you are installing your CPU, whatever you do, you try not to touch these gold pins on the back. Say, you really don't want to try to touch the gold pins or the silver part, but if you touch the silver part, it's fine. But on every CPU, and I'm gonna try to get it to focus in. I don't know if you can see, but there's a gold triangle in this corner compared to the other ones. And you're gonna line up this triangle with the triangle that's on your CPU socket. So what I'm gonna do, get it back to focus on the case. So I'm just gonna flip this latch up. And we're gonna match the triangle from here onto the motherboard triangle. Okay guys, after referencing the manual, the triangle on this motherboard is right down here. So I'm going to take, like I said, the matching triangle. We're just going to gently sit it down in place. You'll see it. If it's not, like if you feel resistance, do not push. Just move it to the side and you'll watch it fall into place. And then to lock it down, just going to push down on this lever, and boom, your CPU is now installed. It's one of the scariest parts, but it's actually one of the easiest ones to install. So now that we got that in there, I think one of the next big parts we want to talk about is RAM. Okay, so for RAM is used, it stands for random access memory, and a lot of programs take up a lot of RAM. Whether you're gaming and streaming, that is a huge RAM killer, as well as looking at code and running programs. So for this being a school build, since I am a computer science student, coding is a big thing I'm going to be doing, so I wanted to get a lot of RAM. So each one of these sticks is 8 gigabytes of RAM. So I've got 32 gigs in total. I'm just going to show you how to install them. Okay guys, and like I've been saying, all this is based off your motherboard. That's going to determine how your guys are going to install certain parts. So for this one, RAM is done in channels. So for this one, the top two right here are the A channel, and then the bottom two are the B channel. Some motherboards, it might be where you have to put a gap in between, so it's like channel 1, channel 2. Luckily, since we're using 4 sticks, we don't have to worry about that, but that is something to be cautious of when doing your own build. So let me pull out the RAM sticks here. We'll set that G-Skill sticker to the side. Pop out some of the RAM sticks. So like I said, this is your RAM, and you can see that there's a big notch right here on the side or in the middle of it. So what you want to do is push these tabs open here on the top, and I'm actually gonna reset the camera. Okay guys, so that should be a better look now. So those are your RAM slots, and you can kind of see that there's like a peg right here in all of them. So you just want to make sure that you take your RAM stick and line up that notch while getting it into the grooves on the side. So it looks like I'm lined up. That notch matches up with the notch cut out in the RAM stick, and then all you do is you push down and you'll hear it click in. And you'll do that for however many RAM sticks you have in the configuration that your motherboard manual will tell you. Since I'm using all 4 slots, I'm just going to install it straight down the line. Last one. So boom, we now have our RAM installed. So we are already pretty much halfway done with touching the motherboard. We really only have maybe 2 more pieces of stuff we have to do, specifically when it comes to putting stuff in these slots. So next thing I want to get into is I want to put in our graphics card. Okay guys, for graphics, AMD is really good with having good integrated CPU graphics, but I wanted to go a little bit cheaper on the on the CPU. So this CPU in particular does not have graphics, so I wanted to get a graphics card. So this is a Gigabyte GTX 1650, and it's a pretty nice motherboard, graphics card, from the reviews that I've seen online. And I really also wanted a dedicated graphics card because I run dual monitors when I do my coding for schoolwork, and I want to get into streaming my coding on Twitch. So let's open this up. Okay guys, so this right here is your graphics card, and we're just going to take off this plastic channel. So just like when we did the RAM, you can see that there's like a notch cut out, and it will match up with one of these PCI slots right down here. Depending on how much room you have in your case will determine where you set this. Since I have plenty of room up top, I'm going to install it up here. And then just like before with the RAM, you can kind of see this little piece I'm moving around with my finger. You just want to push that down. These parts will always go down towards the bottom of your thing, of your case. line up your notch, and if I can. Okay guys, after figuring out why my GPU wasn't going in, I forgot that my case has this little metal bar right here that interferes with this. So now that I have that taken out, if I try this one last time, it should just, if I push down, make sure that these tabs stay on the inside of the case. Simple push, locks into place, and then the thumb screws, or the screws that were used to hold this into place, you're going to want to take those and screw them down to hold your GPU in place. So like I said, for the big thumb screws, I like to use a bigger screwdriver. But once you get your screws back in, your GPU, and boom, GPU now installed. That's the biggest things, is your CPU, your RAM, and your GPU. At least for expensive internal components. Now, one thing, depending on where you live, this is going to be very case specific. But where I live, I actually do not have access to Ethernet, hardwired Ethernet. So what I have to do is I purchased a TP-Link Wi-Fi card. I have one of these in my other build as well. Just give me 1 second. So yeah, I have one of these in my other PC build, and what these are for is to give your computer Wi-Fi in case your motherboard does not come with Wi-Fi pre-built in. So let me change out the camera since it's about to die, and we will continue. Okay guys, had to change the camera, so saw that the quality changes, both microphone and visual. But yeah, so this right here, as I gives your computer the Wi-Fi capability that it needs. So you could always get a Wi-Fi adapter that's a USB, but I actually prefer to use one that hooks straight up into the motherboard like this. And the reason I prefer this is, depending on your use of your system, sometimes you just need all of the USB slots on the back. So I prefer to get one that I can hardwire into the motherboard, so I can still have access to internet. So this is the same type of connector that the graphics card goes into, except for one thing, is obviously this is a lot smaller than the equivalent on the graphics card. So I'm actually going to put it right here in this section right here. There is another mashing section on towards the bottom of the motherboard, but we're going to set ours on the top. And just like again stated earlier, with the graphics card, take one of your screws, screw it into place, and you are one step closer to having a finished PC. Okay guys, so if we take a look at our system so far, we have 2 fans, we have our Wi-Fi card, our graphics card, our RAM sticks beautifully installed, and our CPU. Like I said, I have the RGB controller right here, and what this is it's a 2.5-inch bay, and the next thing that we're going to install is our memory. So if you guys come from the gaming world, you will have heard the term solid state drive, or SSD, and then a lot of people are familiar with the term hard drive. So I prefer to use both. So this right here is a Seagate Barracuda 1TB hard drive, and this is for mainly storing bigger files. So any like PowerPoints, any amount of Word documents that I have from classes, I'm using this. I bought a 2 terabyte recently to upgrade my gaming rig, and I took this 1 terabyte out, and now I'm gonna reuse it in this system. And then this right here is a Crucial 240 gig SSD. And why people like SSDs are they are made to boot faster. So a lot of people will buy an SSD to put their operating system, which if you're building a PC, you're either looking at using Windows or Linux, mainly Windows. So that's what we're doing, as well as any applications that they need to use. So I'm gonna be putting all my different IDE environments like IntelliJ, PyChem, all my Microsoft, like Word, anything in the Office series, all that is going to be going on here to help boot faster. And that is going to sit on this little station right here. So what I gotta do is take this out. This just slides out. And I don't know if you can see the 4 holes here on this, but what you'll do is you will just sit your SSD into it. I'm actually going to set it, I'm gonna set it this way so that the data and SATA ports, the SATA ports are going down this way, and then this will be up here. So what you gotta do is, again, with the box of screws that came with your hard drive, your case, you're just gonna screw down your SSD. Okay guys, and just like that, our SSD is installed. The only other things we really have left is our okay guys, so our SSD is now installed. We're pretty much done with the build. The only other things we have to install is our hard drive, our power supply, our liquid cooler, and the cable management, and we are actually done with the building of the physical components. The only other things left is to get Windows installed. So before I move over to the back to do my power supply and my hard drive, I think this is going to be a good opportunity to install the RGB cooler. Say if you are familiar with building computers and computer parts, then you know this is just an AIO or an all-in-one. So this isn't going to be as luxurious as some like colored tubes, and you have like all your food coloring and your water to make it look fancy, but this is the cooler we went with. So let's open it up. So what you have are 2 RGB fans, which is actually really nice of Cooler Master to do, because I have a NZXT Kraken AIO in my other build, and it did not come with any of the fans. I had to use my own. You have your cooler itself. So right here is the CPU block mount, and then the radiator. So with AIOs, the water is already in here. I'm not sure if you can, so you can't unfortunately hear it. And then here are some fan headers or RGB headers to go into the motherboard. And then I believe these are the rest of the cables in case we had to hardwire it in. So let's take a minute and we're just going to look at the instructions to make sure we install it right. And as long as I get a good idea, I'm going to start filming. Okay guys, we are finally almost done. We can see we got the radiator and then the fans installed. I just need to put the water block on, and I bought this separately, but I didn't know that the cooler was going to come with it. but we are going to put on thermal paste. And what thermal paste is it's a small adhesive to help transfer the heat/cooling ability of your cooler to the CPU. So it comes in a little syringe like this, and there's no true way to calculate how much you need to put on. Every PC reviewer always recommends to put like a pea size on. So I'm just gonna sit here and put on what looks like about a pea. So about a pea size amount. Like I said, I'm really glad that this came with my cooler, because that means I can return the other one that I had bought. We are going to take the plastic off of this. We're going to install this. If I can bend those around. There. Okay, loosen this one up. Okay, there we go. Got the hooks around the block or the bracket. Hand tighten the pump on, and our liquid cooler is finally installed. So now what I'm going to do is off camera, I'm going to take some time, run some cable management, and then we're going to plug in some of the headers onto the motherboard. Okay guys, so right now we are looking at the back of the case, and the reason we're looking at the back of the case is to show you all the wiring and that kind of stuff, but I also wanted to show you how to install the power supply unit. So in this case in particular, this case has a bottom filter right under where your power supply goes. So typically for this style, we will install this upside down. So what we're going to do is take out the thumb screws for the power supply backing. We're going to put this in with the fan of the power supply down. And before I start, this is also a Roswell 500 watt 80 plus gold certified PSU. It's 500 watts, and the 80 plus gold is just its efficiency rating. So it's a very efficient PSU. And we also got a fully modular, which means it doesn't come with all the cables like just jam packed into this. It has these ones that are just automatically built in, but then the rest of them are, you can attach them as needed. So let's see if I slide it like this. So yep, slide it in like so. We're just gonna hand tighten this back on. And then, I don't know if you can see these screw holes. These actually don't seem to really line up with my case, unfortunately. So this might just have to sit pretty loose in there, except for, yeah, so it's gonna have to just sit loose, which is unfortunate, but it's the way life goes. So now, what we're going to do is we're just going to wire everything up, and again, refer to your guys' manuals when you're doing it, but really that's about it. This is your CPU panel connector and one PSU, or not PSU, sorry, PCI for your graphics card if you need it, which I don't believe, because I didn't see it, but I don't think mine has a slot for it. So we're just gonna get this all hooked up, and I'm gonna show you when it's running. Okay guys, we finally did it. We finally got it working. The only thing I messed up was the placement of some of my front panel connectors, mainly the power button and the power LED connectors. Otherwise, as you can see, my fans are running. The Cooler Master pump is lighting up, which means it's running. Say the only thing. Say the GPU is running. However, I'm glad to see it's running, but that power LED is looking like it's glowing orange. It's going back and forth between orange and red. Either way, the system is actually built. Wait. Republic of Gamers! Yes! Ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. We have built I can't say a gaming PC. That is the build for our coding / computer science student setup. New CPU installed. Please enter setup. No keyboard detected. I didn't plug that in yet. As you can see, CPU Ryzen 5 306, the 3600X. Whew, I'm so excited to have this. Now, really, the only other thing you guys got to do in your journey for finishing your setup is installing Windows on your system or whatever operating system you want. Either way, this has been a long and painful process. I hope you guys enjoyed the struggle with me. I hope you guys learn something from this in case you guys want to build your own setup here in the future. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button and also leave a like. It just makes my self-confidence go up. If you want to follow me on my second channel to see gaming videos and a little bit more off content that you're not going to see on this channel, feel free to follow me on my second channel right up here. If you want to follow me on Snapchat, be a part of my close friend group, you can follow me up here. Or if you want to follow me on my any other socials, if you want to see my photography, right down here. Or if you just want to see any random things I tweet, right down here in this corner. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.